Today, I've got a little bit of an upgrade for my content creation. If you don't know, my name's Zach Miller and I am a photographer, videographer, drone pilot, and digital media specialist. I really took an interest in piloting for drone work a little over 2 years ago at my old job, and I've been flying DJI ever since. I started out with the Mavic Air 2, upgraded to the Mavic Air 2S, and have been flying that for a little over a year. Well, today, I went ahead and purchased the DJI Mavic 3 Pro. If you don't know, the Mavic 3 Pro is DJI's latest iteration in its Mavic series. This drone is especially exciting because it has 3 focal length lenses built into its camera housing. So now you can get the type of shots that you would normally have to get flying an Inspire series drone with the interchangeable lenses, all built into one nice package. I went ahead and got the Fly More combo with the DJI RC controller and 3 batteries. So let's go ahead and hop in, cut this thing open, and see what we've got. All right, so right off the bat, we have a pretty nice carrying bag for everything. It's very similar to the bag that the Air 2S came in. It is a fabric material, but pretty heavy duty. Has a pretty nice clamp on the front, easily lockable. Well, let's go ahead and crack open the box and see what we've got inside. Okay, so inside the box, it looks like we have all of our plugs. It does come with international plugs if you're not in the US. Of course, I am in the US, so I will be using these. Looks like they doubled us up on our US plugs, which is nice, just to have a backup, just in case anything happens. But for now, we'll go ahead and get rid of these. Now that we've got those out of the way, what we're left with is our US plugs, our power adapter, and inside here is going to be our ND filters. And it does come included with 8, 16, 32, and 64 NDs. Now, these are going to be really handy that way that you can control your exposure a lot better. If you try to just crank up your shutter speed so that you can compensate for the exposure without an ND filter, you're going to get that jitteriness that you see, that jello effect that really just lowers the quality of the video. And this thing is going to put out some really high quality video, so we don't want to mess that up. ND filters are going to be there to save the day. All right, before we get into what's inside the bag, I just want to take a quick look at the bag itself. Very nice quality. It's actually better quality than what the Air 2S came in. A little thicker, feels like it might be fairly water resistant. I wouldn't say waterproof, but it's definitely going to keep the drone protected while you're traveling. I have a camera bag that I'm going to be putting everything in, but for what you get right out of the box, this is going to get you what you need to get you started. All right, so here's what's in the bag. Of course, we have the drone itself, the 2 extra batteries that I get in the Fly More combo, the RC controller, the station for the batteries to charge in, along with the cords that attach to the power adapter, and all of your extra props. So first things first, I have my Air 2S right next to the 3 Pro. And as you can see, it is a significant size difference. The 3 Pro is, I would say, somewhere between 25 and 30% larger and 20 to 30% heavier as well. I don't have the weights on hand, but I'll put them on screen so that you can see the difference between the two. Overall, it is the same compact foldable design as the Air 2S, which is great for travel. I was lucky enough to go all over the country shooting TV commercials for my previous job, and this thing did the trick. Of course, it'd be really nice to shoot on something like an Inspire 2 or Inspire 3. Not compact, a lot harder to take along with you. For what I was doing, the Air 2S did the job. The next thing I want to compare are the batteries. So this is the battery for the Air 2S. It is actually the same battery as the Air 2 as well. They are 3,500 milliamps. In my experience, because I'm typically doing pretty hard flying, I'm gonna get anywhere from 12 to 15 minutes of flight time because I'm constantly moving at high speeds. But if you're just hovering and just maybe doing some small motions, you're gonna probably get anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes on the 3,500 milliamp battery. Moving over to the Mavic 3 Pro's batteries, these are 5,000 milliamps. They are set to get anywhere from 35 to 40 minutes of flight time. Again, that is probably with less motion than what I'm typically going to be flying them for. With hard flying at high speeds, I would say I'm probably going to get somewhere between a 20 and 25 minute flight time, which I'm super excited about. I'm typically not flying for that long, but there are going to be some situations coming up that I'm going to want to stay in the air as long as possible without having to come down and change batteries. So I'm super excited about that. Next up is the controller. So I went ahead and got the version with the DJI RC controller. I did not upgrade for the RC Pro. The major thing that I was reading about in reviews and watching other creators that had purchased or tested out the RC versus the RC Pro was that there's a little bit more weight to the controller, which, you know, depending on what your preference is, may or may not make a difference. Honestly, I think that it feels pretty good. The major difference between the RC and the RC Pro is the output of light that comes from the screen. So you're gonna get a brighter screen on the RC Pro than you are on the RC. The other major difference is that the RC versus the RC Pro, they both use an Android operating system, but the RC does not have full access to the operating system. It's just going to immediately boot into the DJI application so that you can go straight to flying. The RC Pro does have a full OS of Android so that you can sideload apps, third-party apps, that sort of thing. The last thing that is mentioned is the screen recording option for the RC versus the RC Pro. The RC only records in 720 versus the RC Pro in 1080. And then the one other thing that I want to mention is the charging station. One thing I need to look into, and I'm not 100% sure if it does on the new Mavic 3 Pro charging dock, but on the Air 2S charging dock that comes with the drone, it does not charge simultaneously for all of the batteries that are hooked up. Now, that can be an issue, especially for me, because I do tend to do a lot of flying in a short period of time, and whenever the batteries are only charging one after another, through the charging station, even though it will allow you to connect 3 batteries to it, they are going to charge individually. That doesn't work for me, so I went online and purchased a third-party charger that allows me to charge 4 batteries, and it will charge them simultaneously. Of course, always be careful whenever you're purchasing third-party items that are not made by the company that makes your drone. You do need to be careful. This one had really good reviews and it's worked perfectly for me. I haven't had any issues out of it. The output voltage is what it's supposed to be for the batteries as they charge, and it's done great. And having all of your batteries charging at the same time is an absolute necessity whenever you're out in the field and you're constantly going through batteries. You do not want to end up using one of your batteries and then your other batteries are still on charge because they were only charging one after another. All right, so now the drone itself, if we take the cover off and we unfold it, you can see that it is pretty good size. So we'll go ahead and open up those props. This thing is impressive. One thing that I really love about this drone in particular compared to the Air 2S, even though it's more of an aesthetic thing, is the darker gray / black matte finish. If I pull up the Air 2S, it does have that light gray finish, which I am not a huge fan of. You can get stickers and that sort of thing. That wasn't really something that I wanted to do, but aesthetically, I do love the darker finish on this. Size-wise, it is a little bit larger than the Air 2S, but it is still a compact foldable drone, and so I don't think that it's going to be so large that it's going to be cumbersome to lug it around, especially for travel. I've flown with an Inspire 2, and you have to have basically an entire large Pelican case in order to get it anywhere. So if you're traveling, that's going to be extra cost, and it's really just hard to get around with. The setup is a lot more cumbersome. It's necessary depending on what type of shooting you're doing, but for what I'm going to be doing, this thing's going to be perfect. All right, so as mentioned before, the thing I'm most excited about with this drone is the triple lens option on the camera. You have the wide angle lens, the medium, and the telephoto. The wide angle is going to be comparable to the Air 2S and the Phantom series drones, with the medium lens going to be a ×3 zoom and then the telephoto a ×7. There are some drawbacks to the other two lenses. The ×7 is going to be a standard color profile, so it might be a little bit more difficult to color grade and match some of your other footage, but if you do things right, I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. The ×3 is what I'm most excited about because I chase boats for a living, really high-end boats, and like mentioned before, it can get a little squirrely whenever you're chasing a boat at, let's say, 35 miles an hour over the water, and you're wanting to fill the frame with the boat, and that wide angle lens, unless you're right up on it, is really going to make that boat look like a dot in the water. And so I've done pretty well, have a lot of practice, and have gotten what I need out of my previous drone, but this thing's going to be a game changer. The other big thing for travel drone flying, photography, and video is going to be that parallax effect that you get from using telephoto and medium lenses. So basically what that is your subject in the forefront with your background getting a lot of movement behind it. Whenever you're at a wide angle lens, you're not gonna see as much of that. And so with those zoomed in lenses, you're really gonna get that effect that just ups the quality of all of your videos. One thing to keep in mind with the zoomed lenses is that you really need to be aware of how you're flying, what you're close to. I'm typically out over open water, so it's not as big of a deal, but if you're flying, let's say, in the mountains or in a more populated area with things like other buildings or telephone poles or electrical poles, you need to be aware of where you're at in the air, because you can be thrown off a little bit by the zoomed in lens thinking that you are closer to the object than what you really are, and next thing you know, you're crashing into something. So keep that in mind as well. So again, this is my unboxing of the Mavic 3 Pro. There are a lot of different options that you can do with this. They have the standard edition, which just comes with the single battery. They have the Fly More combo, which I got with the DJI RC. They also have the Fly More combo with the RC Pro, which is going to be that upgraded controller that I mentioned earlier. And then one step up that I would love to get one day is going to be the Cine version. That's going to have some extra codecs that you can film in that's just going to up that quality even more. We'll get to that one day, but for now, this thing's gonna be great. So I have a trip coming up here soon in just a few weeks to the British Virgin Isles, and I'm going on a week-long yacht charter with my company. We're going to be taking some clients down, and that's one of the main reasons that I wanted to get this. I'm going to be in one of the most beautiful places out on the water all day long, every day, bouncing around from island to island. I'm going to have a lot of different views, and this thing is going to capture some amazing content. My plan is to turn this into a bit of a travel documentary, but I'm also going to be doing daily Instagram and TikToks, as well as the YouTube channel that you're hopefully watching this on now. Everything is under Got the Shot Media, so please follow and subscribe to all of my different social medias to stay updated on the content that I'm producing. I'll be doing behind the scenes of the type of work that I do on a daily basis, specifically flying, but also doing walkthroughs and highlight videos of really nice large yachts and boats, and how I get the content that I get for my position in my company. So I appreciate your time today. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below if you have any questions or just want to say hi. I appreciate your time. Thanks.